Okay, I'm making this video for you. There's some drills relative to position and breathing in order to increase relative motion and also find some expansiveness in the posterior pelvic floor. Real quick, because I know you like to nerd out. So the iliums, your hip bone, and your sacrum, right? It's not fixed. It should be able to have tiny degrees of freedom in terms of movement. That's called relative motion, okay? So if you lack relative motion, like minute sort of changes being able to happen between the sacrum and the ilium, your pelvis might start to change shape altogether, orienting into a hip hike, orienting into an anterior or posterior pelvic tilt. The whole pelvis rotates as opposed to allowing a little bit of that relative motion. So you want orientation changes, but you also want to make sure that you've got those little relative motion changes too. Another thing is, if we've got some compression, if we're stuck in a specific position and we've got some compression in the pelvic floor, you can see if we've got a little bit of that rotation in the ilium, there is a shortening of the space between the sacrum and the sits bone. That is posterior pelvic compression. And so some of the drills that we're doing today is meant to help open up and create space in this region. Here's my other one with the actual pelvic floor. So here is your sits bone, and then the muscles that run along this space can be compressed. And that is, can cause, even though it's on the posterior side, it can cause issues on the front and the side in terms of where the glutes are and the femur meeting up and all of the musculature around there. So that's the long-winded version of why I'm making you do this, and let's get into it. The first one is gonna be about that posterior pelvic expansion. So we are gonna have a yoga block, and we are going to, you can do it on either side, but I want you to do it on the right, and I'm gonna show it on the right. So you're gonna take the yoga block, the shortest side, that would be short, medium, tall. So the shortest side, you're gonna place it underneath your right knee. Your knees are right next to each other. You're gonna be on all fours to start. Your toes are tucked under, and all it is a rock back. So we're gonna take a nice big inhale as we rock back, and we're gonna exhale, bring it forward. So it's exhale, or inhale back, exhale. And what you should really be feeling is, as we come into that rock back position, we're creating space in that posterior pelvic floor between your sits bones and your tailbone. And give you a butt shot for me. So I'm in my all fours position, my right knee is lifted. I'm gonna take an inhale, and as I go back, I'm feeling expansiveness right back here. And then I'm gonna exhale, come forward. Feel free to do this on both sides just for a little bit of symmetry, and if it feels good to do that. Another thing I want you to do is, without a yoga block, you're gonna go palms up, elbows down, and we're gonna go toes tucked just slightly, tailbone tucked. So I'm not untucked and I'm not severely tucked. I'm just tucked slightly, and then I'm gonna breathe in through my nose and then out through my mouth like I'm blowing through, like I'm fogging a mirror. So it's when you exhale with that force, like you're fogging the mirror, you're gonna get your obliques to fire. When you exhale and you feel that engagement of your obliques, I want you to hold on to that engagement, not fully. It can expand just a little bit during the subsequent inhale. I want you to hang on to feeling your abs in that area, and then on your next inhale, make sure you inhale through your nose and you exhale through your mouth. On your next inhale, you feel a little bit more expansiveness on the backside of your body, in between your shoulder blades. Really feel each individual rib opening up and creating space in your back. So those two drills are about creating expansiveness both in the posterior rib cage and in the posterior pelvic floor. The next two things that we're going to review is going to have to do with the relative motion. So you need a foam roller for that. A short one is best. You could even use a ball here. You need something that you feel like you can roll in between your legs, okay? So you're gonna start with yourself laying on the ground with your feet on the floor, the roller between your legs. Neutral spine here, so don't feel like your back is pressing down into the ground, but also don't feel like you're arching. So just a natural feeling. You're gonna take an inhale through your nose and an exhale like you're fogging. Try to keep the ribs down. Palms will face up, and all you're gonna do is let one knee start to reach out, and then the other knee start to reach out. So you have a slight engagement on the foam roller, and one femur is gonna extend forward, and as that femur, so my right femur is extending forward, you'll feel your left hip bone draw back slightly. And as the left pulls forward, my right hip bone pulls back ever so slightly. So it's just a little bit of a rock and a roll. Make sure you don't feel like you're arching your back to get this to happen. It is a tiny, minute, less than a half an inch movement, okay? Quarter of an inch maybe, depending upon how much stickiness that you have in your pelvis, okay? So that one is creating relative motion. Let's go to another one, creating relative motion. You're gonna lay on your side. You'll take that foam roller, scoot back here. You're gonna take that foam roller and place it under your knee. All you're going to do is, same thing, let the knee rock forward and pull the hip along with it, and then you're going to pull it back. So the knee's going forward, and then the hip draws with it, and then it's coming right back. So you'll do this on both sides. Spend a little bit more time on that right side being up, and really connecting into the micro movements at the pelvis. So all of this is really small movement patterns. Nothing about it should feel earth-shattering, but connecting into your core and connecting into your ability to move your pelvis, I think, at least, is a good place to start in terms of trying to identify some dysfunction in that right hip, okay? Let me know if you have any questions.